what might be talked about. So with that being said, like I said, I'm Dennis Green, and this formal presentation will last for about 30 minutes, give or take. The goal today, this afternoon, is to really talk about what makes NYU Stern and our executive MBA program so unique, to answer some of the questions that you might have and to really help you understand whether the executive MBA program is the best fit for you, the candidate. The presentation itself will focus on our program in New York City. However, you're always welcome to learn more about our Washington, D.C. program, which will have more information sessions on. We also have recordings from previous information sessions on our website, and then lots of information on our website as well. So you can always gather more information about that program in particular. But like I said, we're going to focus on New York City in our program here today. We're going to talk a little bit about our curriculum, the global immersion experience, the cohort model, class format, and of course, the application process. But towards the end, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have at this point. We have a Q&A feature that you're welcome to use, or a chat feature. You can type in your questions throughout the session, and then, like I said, towards the end, we'll go ahead and answer those for you. When I would say with the questions, just try to keep them as general as possible. If you do have any more personal kind of circumstances that you'd like an answer for, be more than happy to answer those, whether over the phone, by email, in a different format. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So the executive MBA program, you're going to see that there's two start terms each calendar year for our New York City program, which are in January and August. A class of about 60 students, give or take. Our cohort, as we like to call them, begins that program at each start term. The program credits are completed within 22 months, or about 2 years, which is about the average time as pursuing an MBA program full-time. Classes are going to follow a structured modular format, Friday and Saturday classes every other week. And class days typically run from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. There are also going to be two 1-week residencies in the first year, one being a domestic and one being an international. And then there's going to be an option in your second year where you're going to be able to do an additional international residency, which I'll provide more information on shortly. So at the end of the day, whether you're going to be completing an MBA program at Stern through the executive MBA program, through our part-time MBA program, or even through our full-time MBA program, the outcome is ultimately going to be the same. All of the program graduates earn an MBA in general management from NYU Stern. The executive MBA students earn the same number of credits as our full-time and part-time programs as well. But we're going to talk a little bit about what makes the executive MBA program so unique. So let's talk a little bit about the curriculum. So being Stern, being NYU, academic excellence is at the cornerstone, and you're going to find that within our executive MBA program. Our curriculum is going to be designed to give you a strong foundation and also the opportunity to follow your own passions and interests. The core curriculum that you see on the screen here, this is going to provide that strong foundation, like I mentioned, in all the areas of business administration, such as management, marketing, accounting, stats, strategy, to really round out your skills and help you prepare for those electives in your second year. The core curriculum is covered in the first year of the program and taken with your cohort students of around 60 or so students at the end of the day. You're going to note that these are subject areas and key disciplines that will be studied in the core curriculum. And then in that second year, you really get to focus on the elective courses. And these elective courses are the opportunity to build on the core curriculum and go a little bit deeper into advanced topics and subject areas, or to simply just explore different aspects of several different disciplines. And also in the second year, you get to take classes with other second year MBA students from other cohorts to really expand your network and have a unique classroom experience. And through your electives, you can declare up to 3 different specializations. And to declare a specialization, you need to earn 9 credits in that study area. You can see from the specializations in the key subject areas that are rather than industry focused, so that you can really apply these skills to almost any role and function. And with the specializations, it's always important to keep in mind that we have our academic team who will walk you through what courses would go for what specializations and really help you fill in that puzzle. So there's not going to be much guesswork on your part as a student. They will assist you along the way. And specializations are not required. You can always just take electives based off of interest. Specializations are just an organized way of taking your electives in your second year. So at the end of the day, it's really up to you on how you want to tailor your MBA and your career goals. But like I said, at the end of the program, you're still going to be receiving that MBA in general management. So the global immersion experience, let's take a deeper look at this. This is what we call our international residency, and it provides you an exposure to global business centers. Each global immersion experience is a 4-credit course, and it's led by faculty. The first year trip is required for all of our students, and then the second year is optional. However, the majority of our students do take advantage of that second year opportunity. During the global immersion experience, students explore the business culture of other dynamic markets by visiting sites and meeting representatives from key market industries, financial government, and banking institutions as well. The GIE is going to be a really great opportunity to build a community within your cohort and to have more time with your fellow students in a longer format learning experience. So when you look at the global immersion experience, I always like to note that these activities are arranged and paid by the Executive MBA program out of the tuition. But there are going to be a few out-of-pocket expenses, and that's going to include your international airfare and some dinners, as well as any incidentals that you might have as well. There's going to be a complete list on our website, but always helpful to keep that in mind. When all of this is said and done, the good news is you don't really have to travel too far to have that meaningful perspective on business culture too. We are in the heart of New York City, and we really leverage the city to our advantage. So there's going to be lots of resources and real world experiences in the classroom and a variety of different events to bring a new perspective for our MBA students, as well as really allowing you to have exposure to innovative and high level thinkers as well. And speaking of high level thinkers, we have such amazing faculty at Stern. So the faculty are really what bring the program to life. And Stern has one of the largest and best faculties in the world. They're going to be leading experts in their field who consult top companies, international organizations, and who have even launched their own businesses. The faculty will teach skills, but also a broader perspective on the role of business and really emphasize the practical impact and big picture surrounding concepts they teach. The faculty who teach in the Executive MBA program are drawn from faculty who teach in the full-time and the part-time MBA programs. However, faculty are selected and invited to teach into the Executive MBA program. They're selected based off of their experience and teaching at the executive level. And given the diversity and depth of experience of executive MBA programs and their real interest in the program, faculty are prepared for the level of analysis and discussion that takes place in the classroom. Our small cohort size really creates the opportunity for students to get to know their faculty well and really develop relationships with them as part of the development of your professional network. We have a list of all of our EMBA New York City faculty on our website. You're always welcome to take a look at that and read their bios to really learn more about their background and teaching experience. The faculty design our curriculum with real world application and skills in mind. So while not everything learned on Friday and Saturday may be applicable on Monday back at work, the learning you should be receiving is tangible and should be applied right away if necessary. And this really allows our faculty to provide a well-rounded curriculum because of that. So let's look at the typical class profile that we try to bring in every cohort. So by now you've heard about our cohort model that we implement, but when you look at this class profile, it's important to keep in mind this is an average of what we'll ultimately bring in. And one of the hallmarks of our program is diversity. So We seek to have experienced professionals from different industries with a variety of professional and academic experiences. This is going to allow you to really have a unique peer learning environment where students are able to share their insights on different market trends and their industries and business issues that they really face every day. And that really allows you to shape the discussion in the classroom setting. So while the typical class profile, well, this is not a typical class profile, as you can see, our students come from around the world, and they can come from business, medicine, law, nonprofit, the arts. We've had filmmakers, journalists, politicians, designers, bankers, um, strategists, accountants, you name it. And all of them really provide that unique perspective to the classroom experience. In addition, the diversity of experience in our EMBA cohorts translates into study groups. So cross-functional and cross-departmental teams often work on projects in the workplace, and we are really trying to replicate that in our classroom setting. So you'll be able to learn from your classmates and further develop your teamwork and leadership skills in these groups. All of the students are assigned into these study groups in their first year of the program, and each group typically is made up of around 4 to 6 students with cross-functional skills so you can really support each other along the way. So what does a day look like in the program? You have a sample schedule that we have here on the screen. We want to recognize that your schedule is already pretty much packed. You have demanding full-time jobs, a personal life, and now you're adding this MBA program to the mix. So it can be a lot. So we structure the program to really help you manage that balancing act. So in terms of scheduling, we ask the students try to focus on 2 courses at a time during that typical class weekend. And this allows our students to take on the subjects at hand, master them, and then move on to the next, building on what they've ultimately learned. NYU Stern has built the program to allow you to focus on being a student and none of the busy work associated with school, which is really nice. This is all made possible by our dedicated student services team who provides a high level of support. They know each student personally. They're always available to answer questions in the program, and they try to manage the finer details of the program. So they'll gather your books and study materials, have them delivered on class days. They'll make sure that meals are ready for you. They'll make sure that you are prepared in terms of scheduling, helping you pick out those courses, just being an asset to make sure you're successful in the program. Professional development. This is another big asset of the program and business school in general. So students come into the executive MBA program to, of course, enhance their knowledge and business expertise and equip themselves with the tools they need to get wherever they might be interested in going. But our working professionals team, or careers office, as we like to call it, is dedicated to helping you develop a long-term career plan. So whether you are aiming to enhance your industry, transition careers, start a new business. Our career coaches are partners in that journey, and they're really going to help you define your professional goals, fine-tune your resume, hone in interview skills, develop your pitch, use the network, really provide a tool set to allow you to be successful based off of what those goals might be. They offer a wide range of online resources. Alumni access is going to be available 24/7 through our career resource hub. So you're going to have lots of resources along the way as well, while you're in the program, and of course, after you leave as well. So in terms of career coaching, it's important to note that this is going to start on day one when students are in the program during residency, and it's going to be continued as a long-term benefit to our graduates as well. Students and alumni develop a customized career strategy with our team through coaching with one-on-one meetings, which can be delivered via Zoom, telephone, or even in person. There's going to be workshops and events programmed into the student schedule. So during that typical class weekend day that we had shown, there's going to be events that really cover a range of professional topics, maybe pivot perspectives, personal brand, advancing your career towards broad service, really dedicated services and workshops to help you start reaching those goals. There's going to be opportunities for you to meet alumni and community members from different industries and companies to really build your network as well. Um, When thinking about alumni, it's important to know that you'll have access to that success, the Stern Success Network. It's our online student and alumni directory. It's going to connect you to over 110,000 alumni in over 80 countries. Access into the community starts as soon as you matriculate into the program, so you can start really connecting and networking with those individuals in the Stern community right away. You can also take advantage of lifelong education opportunities. This is another real asset of the program. So Stern alumni are eligible for two tuition-free in-person executive certificate courses each per academic year, and a 50% discount on additional courses as well. So this is going to allow you to continue that lifelong learning benefit even after you leave the program. So with all this being said, it's important to note that while you are immersed in this program for 22 months, you're going to be able to join a community that will support you for a lifetime. So tuition, let's talk a little bit about tuition for the program. So currently our tuition for the program is going to be $232,880. And this is for the entire 22-month program. Tuition is going to include everything you see on the screen. So all of the books, materials, global immersion experiences, meals, fees, online, all of the fees that you see listed here will be put into that tuition amount there. When looking over this list, I want to point out just two items that will be helpful to keep in mind. So meals, breakfast and lunch are going to be included on class days. So we cater to both, to many different requests and student preferences. Meal times are going to be a really good way to have casual conversation. Some work study time is with your classmates as well. And even outside of those traditional meals, there's going to be snacks and drinks available during our break times as well. So lots of ways to make sure that you are not worrying about the meal component during those class weekends. And then accommodations. So another way we provide balance for our students who live a bit further away from campus is to provide accommodations on class weekends. So if you live a minimum of 40 miles, so 40 miles or more from your home address to Stern's street address, you're going to be eligible for up to 2 nights of accommodations as a courtesy included in your tuition. There's a little bit more detail on our website, but just something to keep in mind if you're going to be traveling a little bit for the program. The only costs that are going to be excluded are going to be the airfare for your first destination on your global immersion experience, and then any other visa costs that might be associated with the global immersion experience as well. But all of these costs will be provided to you. You'll have a full understanding what those might be once the global immersion experience location is ultimately decided for your cohort. Um, when thinking about tuition, keep in mind too that we recommend budgeting for an increase of anywhere from 3 to 7% as tuition increases in the program. So just something to keep in mind there, but that's something that the university and the program will make sure you're well informed on while you're in the program as well. So, financing your MBA. We understand that this is an expensive program, so we really want to make sure that you have the resources you need to make this reasonable. So there's going to be a couple ways to go about that. Financial aid. We have a great financial aid team dedicated to our graduate students and helping you finance your MBA. So most students will fund some portion of their education with loans. If you are a U.S. citizen, we do recommend that you fill out the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, as soon as possible. You can do so by visiting the FAFSA website and following the prompts there. You can always access our financial aid website if you need a little bit more detail there, as well as contacting our financial aid office. They'd be more than happy to assist you along the way as well. Scholarships, so merit scholarships are available for our executive MBA students as well. Full tuition scholarships are not going to be offered. So these are going to be more just based off of your merit, holistic review. To be eligible for consideration, applicants do need to indicate their interest in the application. So it's typically a yes or no answer that you're interested in being considered for a merit scholarship. So you'll want to just make sure that you check that off. So candidates who ultimately would be like to be considered for a scholarship will be reviewed for this one-time merit award, typically ranging anywhere from $2,000 to maybe $20,000, depending on your merits. Students who are automatically offered the students will automatically be offered the highest award to which they qualify. There's no set criteria for what guarantees you an award. Again, it's based off of that holistic admission review that we provide. And like I said, all scholarships are one-time awards and they're applied towards your tuition payments. At the time of acceptance, you'll find out what that scholarship is and all the additional points to keep in mind when considering that scholarship. That's all going to be indicated on that acceptance letter. So the application process, we try to make this as straightforward as possible. Our first process is the pre-assessment, and this is your way of ultimately raising your hand saying, I'm interested in the program. So in terms of the pre-assessment, we will take into account the prereqs that are needed for the program, and that's going to be a bachelor's degree or its equivalent and a minimum of 6 years of full-time experience. We also want to see your resume. There's no application fee for this, but once you submit this with those materials and we're able to indicate that you meet the initial requirements, we'll go ahead and move you on and let you know that you can proceed with the formal application. And that's going to be the more detailed application that really allows the admission committee to review you as a full candidate. So you'll see that there's going to be multiple different requirements, one of them being the required essays. So we do require 2 essays of around 500 words each. We typically decide on the topics well in advance, but typically it's about goals and maybe an area of passion that you have. And then we provide an optional essay 3 to allow you as a student to provide any more insight that we might need to know about your application as well. So transcripts, we require transcripts for all degrees that you've earned. We will need to be able to see all of your grades and courses as well to really get a good feel for your academic preparation for the program. You're welcome to submit official transcripts at this time, but if you would like, you can also provide copies of your transcripts to speed up the process if you're interested. But just keep in mind, if you are admitted and you decide to enroll in the program, we would need to have those final official transcripts in order to finalize your enrollment. 2 letters of recommendation are going to be needed, one being a professional one from your current supervisor, and also a professional one from a former supervisor is always helpful. There's always scenarios where maybe you don't have a strong relationship with your current supervisor based off of the timing in that position, and those are scenarios that we can always discuss on a more one-on-one level. But we always like to see one supervisor, one former supervisor, if not a supervisor and maybe a colleague, someone who can speak to your preparation for the program. So the interview. This is one of the unique elements of our process and allows you to meet with us, the admission committee, to talk a little bit about your candidacy for the program, allow us to get to know you, and for you to find if it's a good fit for you as well. So these interviews typically last 30 minutes, and we want you to approach it as a formal job interview at the same time as well. You can start the interviewing process at any point. You don't have to submit your application. So once you start the formal app, and while you gather all these items, you can schedule your interview and complete that as you finish up the application. Sponsorship form, this is an optional element, but a really good way for you to have a conversation with your employer. This means that it means it's ultimately a form that really will summarize your time commitment for the program. And also it provides a structured kind of conversation to see if your employer would be interested in providing any sort of financial consideration as well. Test scores are optional. If you feel like you cannot demonstrate academic preparation for the program, or especially quant preparation, maybe providing test scores would be helpful. Especially if you're applying to another program that requires these scores, can always provide those to us. We'll take that into consideration. But again, if maybe test scores are not the highlight of your application, you don't feel like they really shine a light on your potential, they're not going to be required. So again, optional. And then the application fee is $175. However, for joining me this afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and waive the application fee for you. So you can go ahead and expect to see that waived on your application once you formally submit the application to our office. So deadlines. We have our January start deadline. Deadlines listed on the screen as well as the August start. January, we're in our final stages of reviewing applications for January of 2026. If you are in the final stages of your application for January, submit it now. If you're just starting the application process, August might be the better consideration for you, especially with the holidays rolling up at the end of the month. It's just might be a better fit for August. But if you're in the final stages of a January application, we're still reviewing, we're still considering. So we'll take that into account. If there's a question that you have about what might be the best fit for your cohort, you can always reach out to us as well. We are rolling admission. So what this means is once your application is complete, at any point in the admission process or throughout the year, we're going to go ahead and review your application, typically provide a decision within 3 to 4 weeks. So with that being said, I want to make sure we have some time for any questions. I know we're getting close to the 30-minute mark. So any questions that you might have about the admission process or Stern or anything that we kind of talked about today, I'd be more than happy to answer those for you. So you can always use the Q&A chat. I'll give you a couple seconds to put those questions through. On the screen, you'll see that we have our contact information. So like I said, if you have any further questions, individual circumstances you want to talk out, can always give us a call, send us an email. More than happy to assist. And then on our screen here, have a QR code for our pre-assessment, which is free. Typically takes about 5 to 10 minutes at the most to get the application process started. All right, so got two questions so far. One is in regarding test scores. How important is it to take the GMAT or GRE? Really depends on you as a student. I would say if maybe you didn't have the strongest academic experience in your undergrad, or maybe your undergrad didn't showcase strong quant or math skill preparation, maybe providing test scores would be helpful. However, again, not required. Always look at it as a way to add bonus, add more strength to your application. But even in the circumstances where maybe you take the test and you're not proud with those results, there's no need to submit them to us. If we receive those test scores, we'll take them into account. But again, it's optional. So it's really based off of your preparation and what you see might be best for your application and consideration. Another question is regarding the GI Bill and veteran services. So NYU Stern does have a very structured opportunity for our veteran students to receive those benefits financially through the VA. We have a VA representative and we have our financial aid team that we can always connect you with. But typically what happens is once you are admitted and you're in the financial aid process and you start planning out the next steps, we'll get you in touch with our financial aid team and our veteran representative, and they'll walk you through what your benefits are, what's going to be covered, and what that final balance would ultimately be. So we have a very structured way of supporting you along that path, but we do a really good job of providing those benefits and also providing any sort of additional need that might be needed for our veteran students at the end of the day. I had some questions about international students entering the job market after their second year. That's where careers will come in. We have that careers team that'll walk you through based off of your goals. So they will walk you through connections, networking, assisting in the job search. So they do a good job of providing you with a nice tool set to be a partner in that job search. So no guarantee that there will be a job after graduation, but it's providing all those skills, that communication, the tool set to really be successful in finding that job if that's of interest to you. But keep in mind too, our students typically, they're in this program to advance their career, maybe pivot, or maybe even start their own business. So there's going to be different goals in terms of what each student might be looking for at the end of the day. Uh, we got one good question in regards to applying earlier in the application process. I would suggest when you are ready to apply and you have all your items and ready to go, absolutely apply, complete your application. It's best to apply early on. That way you are well prepared for the start of the program. Make sure that you have all your choices aligned and ready to go. It's also good if you're considering scholarship as our scholarship budget does dwindle as we get closer to the start of the program. So the earlier, the better. All right. So I'm going to take one more question and then we'll go ahead and end the session. We had one question in regards to students that ultimately pivot in regards to a percentage. Well, I don't have an exact percentage of students that ultimately will are looking to pivot. We've seen an increase in students who are joining the program with a pivot in mind. And ultimately, as long as you are working with our careers team, they will make sure that they have a clear path. They'll start providing those connections. They might suggest conferences or panels to go to, community partners that they might connect you with. So they will work with you on that. So while I don't have an exact percentage of how many students are exactly looking for that pivot, we do see a increase in that interest from year to year. So absolutely, it's going to be a support that's provided. It's just you as a student having that partnership with our careers team and faculty to make sure you're successful. All right. Well, I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you were able to gather some important and practical information on our executive MBA program here in New York. We will have more events coming up in the near future, so always be on the lookout. If you do have any further questions, feel free to reach out, email, phone, whatever might be best. I wish you all the best and look forward to reviewing your application down the road. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.